So, before I say nice things about our friend, my friend, Harold Caskey, let me take a second, because when I am in Warrensburg and when I'm in Johnson County, it is important for our, oh goodness gracious, Gary Grigsby is always up to something. It is important that the people of this community who elected and re-elected Joe Dandrian time and time again to become the presiding judge of the 17th Judicial, and then saw him go on to the Western District Court of Appeals here in the state of Missouri, and then leave that extraordinary job to come and become the Deputy Attorney General of the state of Missouri, understand the sacrifice that he has made for public service all through his life, and then the really significant sacrifice that he took on to run this very difficult office. He and I can tell you that this office challenges our abilities every single day. There are we have a governor, and I'm his lawyer. There are 40,000 cases. Judge Russell understands the significance of this. There are 40,000 cases in the Missouri Attorney General's office. And Joe and I and a great team of 400 people who work with us administer this work every day. And I swear to you that I could not do this work without Joe Dandrian at my side. And I would ask the room to let him know how grateful this community is for him. Now, for Senator Caskey. When I was a boy, a teenager, I had the privilege of wearing the number of my then teenage hero, Democrat Bill Bradley, who was, as many of you will remember, the great basketball player from Princeton who went on to play for the New York Knicks. And I wore number 42 on my high school basketball team with great pride. And 25 years later, I had an experience that was somewhat similar, and that is I got to wear the number of another one of my heroes, number 31, State Senate District number 31, when I succeeded Harold Caskey in the Missouri Senate. And when people would ask me, did you serve in the Senate? I didn't say I served in the Senate. I almost always reply to that question by saying, I succeeded Harold Caskey in the Missouri Senate, because I'm very proud of that fact. And I'm very proud of it because of the incredible impact that this individual had on the entire state of Missouri, not just on this region of our state. He served for 28 years, from 1976 through 2004. He passed 328 pieces of legislation. He was truly one of the lions of the Missouri Senate, not just for the period of the last half, or the last quarter of the 20th century, but he was one of the lions of the Senate throughout the entire 20th century. He ranks right at the top among the greatest senators that the state of Missouri has seen. As a few of you may remember, I used to be a Republican and I switched parties in 2007, and one of perhaps the most memorable line I remember when I switched back in 2007 was from Senator Caskey, and he said, watching Koster switch parties was like looking at a 2-day-old kitten opening his eyes for the first time. Strategically, he was a genius, sometimes a mischievous genius. If there was a piece of legislation that he wanted to get passed that was controversial and thought maybe he couldn't do it all in a bill, sometimes he would just change one word in Senate Bill 387 and then 2 more words in Senate Bill 428, and it would happen again in Senate Bill 569. And no one would notice that they would look at the bill and just go, oh, those are just 2 words changing, that's not a big deal. And they would do it time and time again as the Senate session would go, and then all the bills would pass, and when they all got to the reviser of the statutes back in the middle of the summer, they would realize that Senator Caskey had changed entire sentences, and they all fit together, and no one ever saw it coming. He was a genius in that way. It gave him, while sometimes he had disagreements with our Missouri State Senate, he always held the State Senate in a higher regard than he ever held the House. Sorry, Delita. And most senators come from the House before they go to the Senate, and I would think that is probably 85 to 90% of them. But Senator Caskey came from the Bates County Prosecutor's Office before he went into the State Senate. And so when a young intern would approach Senator Caskey, the great Senator Caskey in the hall, trying to learn about his life, and would ask him, Senator, did you ever serve in the in the State House of Representatives? Senator Caskey would lift his chest up and say, oh no, I am untainted by Missouri House service. Back in the late 1990s, there was a bill that was continued to be attempted to pass called it was informally referred to as the Liver for a Life bill. Now this was a bill that people, do you remember this? Okay. This was a bill that said that if someone was on death row, that they could get themselves off of death row if they contributed an organ, if they donated an organ. And Senator Caskey would routinely file an amendment that said, the only way you could get off death row is if the organ you donated was your heart. And then finally, many of you in the room know this story, but Senator Caskey is famous for uttering the funniest words that have ever been spoken on the floor of the Missouri Senate. As you know, throughout his career, Senator Caskey was pro-life. And of course, it's almost a rite of spring in Missouri that in the legislature we argue about abortion down there. And there was one night at 2 o'clock in the morning when they were involved in a long debate over the issue of abortion. And a fellow senator stood and asked to inquire of Harold Caskey. And the question that was posed to Senator Caskey was, Senator, when does life actually begin? To which Harold Caskey famously responded, life begins at erection and ends at resurrection. There's never been anyone like him. There will never be anyone like him there again. It is our privilege to call him our senator, the senator from the 31st, Missouri's 31st Senatorial District. If I could bring Kay Caskey to the podium to accept the 2015 James C. Kirkpatrick Award to Senator Harold L. Caskey.